Right before the college entrance exam, my twin sister shoved a lucky amulet into my hands. She gleefully boasted that she had prayed sincerely for it at the temple, and wearing it would guarantee I'd pass with flying colors. I received it with a bright smile, but then casually tossed it to a beggar shivering by the roadside. I knew full well it was no protective charm. It was a luck-swapping system designed to transfer all my good fortune directly to her. In my previous life, after happily wearing that amulet all day, my luck vanished like leaves in the wind. I failed the college exam, struggled aimlessly to find a job, and married a brutal man who was nothing but a wild beast in human skin. In the end, he dealt me a fatal blow that ended my life. Meanwhile, that lazy sister of mine, having stolen my luck, got accepted into a prestigious university and enjoyed a brilliant future. In this life, I threw that amulet straight to the beggar on the street. She wants to swap luck? Let her swap it with him. My dear sister, people often call us twin flowers, but I hate that saying. Only one flower needs to bloom to be beautiful enough, and I will be the one blooming brilliantly. As for you, you just need to wither away beside me until you fade into nothingness. I'm not borrowing your luck. Luck was always meant to be mine. I'm merely taking back what rightfully belongs to me. Those were the last words I heard before taking my final breath. By then, she had become a highly successful woman. Her career was smooth sailing, her husband doted on her endlessly, and she had given birth to a cute, obedient daughter. As for me, my mother-in-law cursed me as a jinx, a useless hen that couldn't lay an egg, and ultimately, I was beaten to death by my own husband. When I opened my eyes, the world spun around me. I realized I had been reborn, returning to the exact moment right before the college entrance exam. The bedroom door was pushed open, and my sister walked in with a bright smile, holding the exact same amulet from my past life. Sister, I took a walk at Fuline Temple and saw a monk handing out amulets, so I asked for one for each of us. Wearing this will definitely help us do well on the exams. I looked at the amulet, its familiar patterns giving me goosebumps. The corners of my lips twitched, and I forced out a smile. Thank you. I wish you the best on your exams, too. Hearing this, the smile on Lily's face stiffened. Sister, don't you know me by now? In 3 years of high school, have I ever scored over 200 points? I'm just taking this exam for fun. You're the one who needs to study hard. Once the door closed, I calmly took a deep breath and opened my hand. The amulet quietly lying there was the very thing that had robbed me of my entire life. My grades, my career, my marriage, all my good fortune had been hijacked. Fortunately, this amulet operated on a simple rule: whoever possessed it would have their luck entirely swapped. Because of that, when I left the house the next morning, I casually tossed the amulet right in front of a beggar on the street. I chuckled softly. My dear sister, you borrowed my luck for an entire lifetime. Now, it's time to pay it back. As for those kinds of protective amulets, you could buy 3 for 10 yuan. I simply went and bought another one. As soon as I got home, the smell of hot rice drifted from the kitchen. Mom was busy setting the table. I walked up and hugged her tightly. Mom, your cooking smells amazing. Mom pretended to be annoyed and gently pushed me away. It's so hot out, why are you clinging to me? Let go, don't let the cooking smoke get on you. But I knew she wasn't afraid of the heat, she was afraid the greasy smell of the kitchen would rub off on my clothes. In my past life, after I failed the college exam, Mom remained steadfast and encouraged me, don't be discouraged, try again for another year. I listened to her, but a year later, the results were still too disastrous to look at. Normally, my grades were solid. But whenever a major exam came up, my mind would go blank, as if my soul had been drained out of my body. I didn't dare retake the exam again. I ended up at a vocational college, working a job that paid 3,000 yuan a month, and married a man who looked decent on the outside. But only after marrying him did I realize he was a monster, 9 parts violently aggressive, 1 part fake gentility. If anything displeased him, he would raise his fists. When Mom found out, she rushed over to help me. But he ended up pushing her to the ground right in front of my eyes. From then on, I never dared let Mom visit again, terrified he would hurt her. Ultimately, I was beaten to death by that very man. Lily and I were identical twins. I was beautiful, excelled academically, and was the perfect child in the eyes of our neighbors. My sister, on the other hand, was merely delicate-looking, poor at her studies, and only liked playing petty, cunning tricks. Every time Mom scolded her, she would use me as the standard for comparison. Over time, in her eyes, all her suffering was caused by me. She believed that even from inside the womb, I had stolen her luck. If I hadn't existed, all that glory would have been hers. It was this deep-seated resentment and dark energy that attracted the luck-swapping system. The trap: Lily used my luck and my life force as sacrifices to secure a partnership with the system. The parasite: the luckier I was, and the harder I tried, the more benefits she and the system would reap. The end game: by the time I had no value left to be exploited, my life force would be so weak that a single punch would be enough to end it all. I only understood everything after I died. Why did she constantly buy me study materials? Why did she always encourage me to take extra classes and urge me to prepare so hard for job interviews? Why did I constantly face obstacles at work, only for her to push me to enroll in more training courses? It turned out, it was all so I could put in the effort on her behalf. I studied for her, I worked for her, and my very existence was for her benefit. During dinner, Dad spoke up, his voice as gentle as always. Shinshin, the college entrance exam is just a small milestone in life. Don't be afraid, and don't put too much pressure on yourself. No matter the result, it's going to be okay. Lily slammed her chopsticks down with a clack, her voice full of dissatisfaction. Dad, why do you always only care about my sister and never bother to ask about me? Dad chuckled, watching her throw a tantrum, his tone remaining mild. I just want you to be healthy, that's enough for me. Oh, by the way, your homeroom teacher called me again yesterday. She said your grades have dropped even further lately, and asked if I need help preparing the paperwork for you to repeat a year. Hearing this, Lily sneered. She crossed her arms and said coldly, that old witch dares to look down on me? Just wait. Once I get accepted into a top-tier university, I'll make her open her eyes wide and see. Mom and Dad exchanged a glance and just smiled softly, thinking she was spouting nonsense. After all, who would believe a student who was always at the bottom of the class when they claimed they would get into a top university? The next morning, seeing the fake amulet dangling from my backpack, my sister skipped school and curled up under her blankets to sleep until noon. Mom was about to scold her, but Dad pulled her arm back. Let it go. Even if she studies, she wouldn't pass a vocational college anyway. Just leave her be. Mom glared at him. It's all because you spoil her so much that she thinks the whole world owes her. Dad just sighed. They are both our daughters, but they each need a different approach. For Shinshin, I hope she flies high and far. But for Lily, as long as she lives peacefully and doesn't cause trouble, that's good enough. Hearing this, Mom recalled all the mischievous things Lily had done over the years, and could only fall silent and sigh along with him. As the college entrance exam drew closer, the harder I studied, the lazier she became. Mom and Dad couldn't stand it anymore and advised her a few times, but she just stretched and let out a long yawn. What's the rush, Mom and Dad? Don't worry, after the exams, I'll give you a massive surprise. Dad looked at her lazy demeanor and laughed helplessly. Yeah, I have a feeling it won't be a surprise, but rather a shock. But Lily didn't mind his sarcastic remark at all. She even pulled out her saved lucky money and placed it in Dad's hand. Dad, I heard that teacher's son at school is excellent at teaching physics. Isn't my sister weak in that subject? Use this money to sign her up for one-on-one tutoring. I looked at the savings in Dad's hand, pretending to tear up, my voice choking with emotion. Lily, you really are the best sister in the world. That amulet you got for me. I wear it every day, and I truly feel it working." Hearing this, the corners of her mouth curled up into a smile I wouldn't forget even if I died. "Then you have to remember, on the day of the exam, you must bring that amulet with you right to the doors of the exam room. That's the only true way to show your gratitude to me." I nodded slightly. My sister grinned widely, shooed the whole family out of the room, and turned her music up so loud that the neighbors started screaming and cursing in complaints. Dad, hearing about how she gave me the amulet, had a beaming face. You see, Lily isn't a child anymore. When it comes down to it, she knows how to care for her sister's future. That's truly commendable. Mom, however, just scoffed, her eyes full of suspicion. I don't believe that girl actually has good intentions. Last time, she gave Shinshin an eraser that had math formulas carved all over the inside, which almost got her midterm scores cancelled. I don't understand why she's always so stubborn. Our family has never shunned her. Yet, she just can't stand it when her sister is better. It wasn't hard to understand at all. It was simply because she was jealous of me. In her eyes, if I had something she didn't, the entire world was out of balance. Whatever she couldn't have, I absolutely wasn't allowed to have either. When she broke her leg and couldn't participate in a dance competition, she deliberately set it up so I would slip and fall, ensuring I couldn't get on stage either. Once, when relatives gifted us identical dresses, she secretly dyed mine black just because people had complimented me. "You're a bit fairer, so it looks better on you, but she has a better figure, so it has its own charm." To her, she would only truly feel satisfied if I was dragged into the mud and trampled under her heavy heels. As the exam day drew near, I deliberately started complaining of fatigue, claiming I was dizzy, and pretending to catch a cold. Seeing this, my sister was as happy as a clam. She would mutter to herself, "The luck swapping system is absolutely brilliant, this time it's really working." From that day on, she became even lazier, not even bothering to go to school. Then came the day of the college entrance exam. Lily had a high fever and, right after stepping out of the house, ran headfirst into a large glass door. I knew this was the system beginning to punish her because all her luck had been stripped clean by the beggar. Unfortunately, Lily didn't grasp that underlying meaning, she just assumed it was a coincidental streak of bad luck. On the way to the exam center, I passed the overpass where, in this life, I had thrown the amulet to the beggar. I stopped and looked around. The crippled, ragged man from that day was gone. I asked a street sweeper nearby, "Excuse me, I remember there used to be a beggar here in torn clothes with a crippled leg. Where did he go?" The sweeper looked around and lowered her voice. "That man struck it rich." "Struck it rich?" I asked, feigning surprise. "He could barely walk, how could he strike it rich?" The street sweeper pointed straight at the fake amulet hanging from my backpack. "Because of that exact thing. That day, he picked up an amulet just like yours. He thought it looked nice, so he put it on. As a result, crazy things started happening one after another. First, he found a gold ring on the street. Then, his leg completely healed up, and a film crew even hired him to play a professional beggar. Room and board included, and the pay is actually really good." She spoke with deep admiration, reaching out to touch the amulet on my bag. I smiled generously, pulled another one out of my pocket, and handed it to her. "If you like it, take it. 3 for 10 yuan, I'll just give you this one." On the day of the exam, my sister and I were assigned to the same room. As soon as she got in, she leaned over her exam paper and started drawing bizarre, meaningless symbols all over it. Less than half an hour later, she fell fast asleep on her desk. The proctor called her several times, but she irritably replied, "I'm sleepy, so I'm sleeping. Am I bothering anyone? I'll get into a prestigious university anyway." The other students, well aware of her infamous academic record, couldn't suppress their laughter. During the subsequent exam sessions, Lily grew even more arrogant. She didn't write anything, just played with her hair, glanced around, and occasionally giggled to herself. The proctor finally couldn't take it anymore and gave a stern warning, "Student, if you continue to violate exam room rules, we will cancel your entire paper." Hearing this, my sister reluctantly put her head down on the desk. She looked obedient, but she was actually spinning her pen, drawing with her ruler, and playing with her eraser. While she was playing, her face suddenly turned pale. The proctor, who had already been keeping a close eye on her, immediately walked over. "Hand over what's in your hand." She clenched her fist, trembling. "Teacher, I don't have anything." Another proctor immediately went to call the chief exam supervisor. Panicking, she hurriedly tried to shove the eraser's cardboard sleeve deep into her palm. When the supervisor walked in, they immediately escorted her out of the room. As she walked, she tried to explain, tears welling in her eyes, "I didn't do anything wrong. Why won't you believe me? If I just finish this subject, I can start everything over." But no one listened, no one cared, and no one knew that hidden inside the eraser sleeve Lily was desperately trying to conceal was a whole list of physics formulas that I had personally written. When Dad drove her home, Mom didn't scold her. She just gently rubbed her head and said softly, "It's okay, Lily. The college entrance exam is just a small hurdle." Hearing this, my sister slammed the table, threw things, and screamed until her voice went hoarse. "What do you mean small? I can never take the college entrance exam again. Do you understand? For the rest of my life, I'll only have a high school diploma." Mom, who had been trying to gently console her, suddenly lost her temper. "Isn't it because you cheated that things turned out this way? Now you come home and throw a tantrum at us?" The tension in the room was as tight as a bowstring. Suddenly, my sister lunged forward, grabbed my backpack, and stared fixedly at the amulet hanging from it. Her voice trembled in disbelief. "Why is it like this? You did this, didn't you? You're the one who set me up to get caught cheating." She grabbed my sleeve, screaming frantically, tears and snot streaming down her face. "You're the only one who touched my bag. You planted that eraser, didn't you?" I bit my lip, letting tears stream down my face, and just shook my head. "It wasn't me. The exam is so important, I didn't even have time to sleep. Why would I have time to mess with your things? Besides, haven't you always liked hiding cheat sheets in your pencil case? Maybe you just forgot to take it out this time." Hearing this, Lily's face showed a hint of hesitation. She was about to argue back, but Dad cut her off. "What's done is done. You were never good at studying anyway. Even if you took it, you probably wouldn't have passed. Stop talking about it and start thinking about what you're going to do in the future." "The future?" I saw my sister's eyes glued to my amulet. That look was no different from a starving person staring at the last piece of bread on a table. I knew her only plan for the future was to drain every last drop of my remaining luck until I had nothing left to give. Dad spoke again, "If you haven't figured it out yet, let us find you a job. Later on, you can take the adult higher education exams." How does that sound? My sister nodded reluctantly. "Fine. But I have one condition." "What condition?" Mom asked immediately. She looked at me, a smirk forming on her lips. "I want my sister to carry the amulet I gave her at all times." I laughed out loud. "Sure. I'll wear it even to my grave. Is that enough for you?" Hearing my promise, she immediately brightened up and walked into her room humming a tune, acting as if she wasn't the one who just got permanently banned from the national exams. It was only when I lay down in bed that I dared to breathe a sigh of relief. Truthfully, I hadn't been entirely sure if the proctor would catch the eraser. But recently, my sister's luck had hit rock bottom. The slightest movement from her would be scrutinized. I was merely giving her a taste of her own medicine. In our past life, she sabotaged my high school entrance exam. In this life, she intended to frame me during the college exam. The only difference was that this time, she no longer had the luck-swapping system to protect her. Everything had finally reversed. Afterward, my parents helped her find a job at a nearby convenience store. At first, she thought it was beneath her and refused to go. Dad, unable to stand the sight of her lounging around the house all day, finally threatened her, "If you don't go to work, I'll tell your sister to take off that amulet." That sent her into a panic. She quickly changed clothes, combed her hair properly, and lowered her head as she went to work. That amulet was now the only shred of hope she had left in her life. Mom watched my sister muttering mysteriously to herself and sighed. "Tell me, do you think Lily has a psychological problem?" Dad replied helplessly, his voice full of exhaustion. "In the past, she always claimed we favored you. Because I was afraid she would overthink things, I tried to indulge her a bit. Look how she turned out." I smiled and comforted them. "Mom, Dad, everyone has their own path to walk. Some people are born to walk on a bright, open highway. Others stubbornly choose to stumble down dark, twisted shortcuts. We can only guide them, we cannot change them." My sister took the job at the convenience store, but her work ethic was atrocious, showing up for 3 days, resting for 2, sleeping until noon, or sneaking out of her shift early. The boss reprimanded her multiple times, but she just yawned constantly, looking entirely lifeless, as if her soul had been sucked dry. Mom wanted to yell at her, but seeing her dilapidated state made her heart ache, so she swallowed her anger and stayed silent. Then came the day the college entrance exam results were announced. Our house was packed with guests. Teachers and admissions officers from several prestigious universities all flocked over, bustling with congratulations. Because I was the top scorer in the entire province. Everything I had been robbed of in my past life, I had taken back with my own hands. My homeroom teacher smiled brightly, shaking my hand tightly, saying that having a student like me was the greatest honor of his life, and he could now retire with 0 regrets. Mom humbly replied, "It's all thanks to your dedicated teaching, sir, otherwise, she wouldn't be where she is today." Right in the middle of this joyous, lively atmosphere, crash, the door was shoved open. My sister burst in. Her hair was a tangled mess, her body was covered in scratches, and her face was drenched in tears. Seeing everyone crowding around me, she lost her mind and shrieked as if she were being gutted. "All of this belongs to me. I'm the one who deserves to be the top scorer of the province. You stole everything from me. Give it back." She lunged forward, smashing tables and throwing chairs. It took the combined strength of 2 male teachers to hold her down. My mother hurriedly turned to the reporters who were recording, forcing an awkward smile. "I'm so sorry. My youngest daughter has suffered a heavy shock recently, so her mental state is a bit unstable." The reporters smiled politely. "It's fine. We understand." But the moment they stepped out of our house, the video of my sister going crazy during the celebration for the top scorer was posted all over the internet. The headline read, "Twin flowers, one blooms in the light, the other plunges into darkness." The video instantly shot to the top of the search trends. I scrolled through the comments, finding that most people were incredibly level-headed and fair. "The older sister is so talented, it's normal for the younger one to feel pressured. Don't feel bad for her just because she's throwing a fit. I'm their classmate, and I know exactly what she's like. She even dared to cheat right inside the exam room. Are you going to say her sister forced her to do that too?" By the end of 12th grade, she skipped class every day, the teachers completely gave up on her. Everyone, look at this objectively. Don't blame the older sister just because she's outstanding. Did you guys know? Back in middle school, she pulled a stunt to frame her sister for cheating on an exam. If the homeroom teacher hadn't thoroughly checked their belongings, we wouldn't have this top scorer today. Wave after wave of comments poured in, mostly from my old classmates, the same people who had stood by me in my previous life when I fell into despair. I remembered when I was beaten by my husband and forced into a divorce, it was those friends who became lawyers and helped me with my lawsuit. It was just a pity that my luck at that time had been completely drained by the luck-swapping system. I didn't even have the luck to get a smooth divorce. But whatever. In this life, my sister and that ex-husband of mine could stick together until their hair turned gray. The ex-husband from my previous life was named Li Jiaming. He was a neighbor in our complex, a refined-looking man with glasses who spoke softly. But on the inside, he was a deranged beast wearing the skin of a gentleman. Once he lost his temper, he would even beat his own mother. I knew my sister perfectly, whatever I liked, she had to snatch away. So, I deliberately let her secretly read my diary, where I had written that I liked Li Jiaming. Her eyes lit up, and she immediately started approaching him. To make me jealous, she brought him home for dinner. During that meal, the two of them sat practically glued together. My dad had to suppress his anger several times to stop himself from kicking them both out. From that day on, Lily found a new source of amusement. She would send me intimate photos of the two of them with the text, "I'm not coming home tonight, don't wait for me. I'm performing very well." I pretended to be shocked, hurt, and heartbroken, retreating to my room with tears in my eyes just to feed her smugness. She knew her limits, thinking she could fool around but absolutely couldn't get pregnant. What she didn't know was that her luck had long been stripped away by the beggar. The contraceptive pills she bought had expired ages ago. I noticed, but of course, I didn't breathe a word. Instead, I would casually say to her, "I'm going to college soon. I'm sure I'll meet someone much better than Li Jiaming." She would just sneer. "You're only saying that because you're jealous, right?" And with that, she plunged even deeper into that relationship. Meanwhile, the beggar from back then had completely transformed. He no longer looked dirty or ragged, in fact, he was wildly famous. He was invited to talk shows and was dubbed the Miracle Man. A reporter asked him, "We know you used to be a crippled beggar in the Tianxiang district. May I ask what helped you overcome those dark years to achieve what you have today?" He smiled gently, his voice full of emotion. "Because on my most desperate day, a schoolgirl gave me a lucky amulet. I know people might say it's just a cheap souvenir, but to me, it was a lifeline. It gave me the hope to keep living and the courage to make it to today." The reporter pressed on, "Do you remember who the girl was?" The man lowered his head slightly, shook it, and smiled bitterly. "I don't remember. But I want to use this broadcast to find her. If we meet again, I will definitely reward her handsomely." I turned off the video and looked over at my sister, who was lounging on the sofa. "Lily, look at this," I smiled, pointing at the screen. "The amulet in his hand is exactly like the one you gave me." "Did you really give him one too?" Lily yawned, her eyes barely open. "Are you delusional? Why would I have the free time to give an amulet to a beggar?" I lowered my head, my voice dripping with crafted disappointment. "Oh, is that so? I thought it was you." He said he would reward the girl who gave him the amulet very handsomely. "What? Reward handsomely?" She sprang up instantly, her voice trembling with excitement. "That's right. It was me. I gave it to him. The luck swapping system isn't useless after all. My luck is finally turning around, isn't it?" She gleefully prepared to run out and find him immediately. But I gently stopped her, looking at her with feigned suspicion. "Wait, are you sure? I heard him say that on that day, it was a schoolgirl in a uniform, it was drizzling, and it was a Sunday. Was that really you?" Those were the actual details of the day I gave him the amulet. Lily froze for a second, then nodded frantically. She threw on her worn-out high school uniform and rushed out the door. I watched her go, smiling to myself. "Oh, my dear sweet sister, you have no idea. When two people are bound by the destiny swapping system, the closer they are to each other, the stronger the luck exchange becomes. Now that you're going to meet him, I wonder how much of your remaining luck will be left." That evening, Lily returned with a glowing face. "Sister." Everything he remembered matched exactly what I told him. To boost his popularity, the former beggar had live-streamed the reward ceremony. He handed Lily 100,000 yuan in cash right on the live broadcast. The entire stream was meticulously staged, warm, touching, and perfectly scripted. Lily played the role of the kind-hearted girl flawlessly. The two smiled brightly for the cameras, and the audience went wild in the comments. Everyone praised the man for his gratitude and agreed the girl deserved the reward. Directors large and small flooded Lily's inbox with collaboration offers, and her management team took the opportunity to buy trending searches, pushing the heartwarming story to the top. My sister came home hugging the piping hot 100,000 yuan, endlessly boasting about her chance to change her life. But she didn't realize that the news had spread all over the internet. Even the local muggers felt like the universe was practically handing them a target on a silver platter. On her way home through a pitch-black alley, Lily was robbed of all her cash. Her clothes were torn and disheveled, she looked so pathetic she didn't even dare lift her head. Dragging her feet, she went to find Li Jiaming, the man who had sworn to protect her. But what awaited her was a brutal beating. From the upstairs window, I witnessed the entire scene. Li Jiaming gnashed his teeth, his voice roaring with fury. "What kind of outfit is this? Who are you trying to seduce? You think I didn't see you making eyes at that beggar on the live stream? Where is the 100,000 yuan? Give it to me, now." Lily trembled, hugging her shoulders, tears streaming down her face. "I was robbed of everything. Can you go to the police with me?" Li Jiaming pinched her chin hard, his eyes as cold as ice. "Robbed? Then why are your clothes a mess? Or did you just finish having fun with some other guy?" Lily's eyes widened, unable to believe her ears. "What the hell are you talking about? I'm pregnant with your child." He sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. "My child? You work at a convenience store. You giggle and flirt with every guy who walks in. Who knows if it's some other bastard's kid? Besides, you threw yourself at me first. You probably just wanted an excuse to pin this filthy pregnancy on a decent family." Slap. Lily raised her hand and slapped him, but in return, she received a barrage of heavy, vicious punches. She collapsed to the ground, fainting. And even then, Li Jiaming stomped violently on her stomach, grinding his teeth and screaming, "My child? Just because you say it's mine doesn't make it mine. God knows whose bastard it is." Standing on the upper floor, I quietly pulled the curtains shut and dialed the police. Later, my parents heard the news and hurriedly rushed Lily to the emergency room. The police were overwhelmed. On one hand, there was a robbery of 100,000 yuan, on the other, a case of domestic violence against a pregnant woman. Both incidents quickly blew up online, sparking a massive storm of public opinion. The former beggar cleverly capitalized on the drama. He went online, urging people to provide evidence and praying that the robbers would face rightful karma. Whether it was because the luck inside Lily had been completely drained, or because Li Jiaming's ruthless kicks were too brutal, the baby couldn't be saved. Her uterus had to be completely removed due to horrific hemorrhaging. From that day on, she could never become a mother. Li Jiaming's mother, who already disliked her, became as cold as a knife. "A miscarriage? What does that have to do with my son? It's her own fault for not taking care of herself." Meanwhile, the beggar took the opportunity to host more live streams, ruthlessly turning Lily's pain into content for views. As for Li Jiaming, his skin was as thick as a brick wall. He went online, crying and playing the victim. "I was seduced by her. It's impossible that she's pregnant with my child. I used protection every time." When Lily accused him of domestic violence, he simply gave a cold laugh. "Without evidence, you can say whatever you want." The police were stuck because the beating happened in a blind spot for the security cameras. With no evidence and no witnesses, all accusations were blocked by his hypocritical smile. Taking it a step further, he started a pity party live stream. He displayed text messages, hotel receipts, and even a few semi-exposed private photos of the two of them, leaving just enough to the audience's imagination. My dad was so furious he almost smashed his phone. But Lily just sat there in a daze, repeating over and over, Jiaming, he still loves me. Otherwise, why would he keep my photos on his phone? Li Jiaming rode the wave of infamy, signing a contract with a management agency and starting to rake in money from his newfound notoriety. I laughed coldly. That very night, I anonymously sent the video of him beating Lily to the police and uploaded a copy to the internet. Within an hour, public opinion violently flipped. The fans who had supported him instantly turned into keyboard warriors, stoning him with so much backlash that he was forced to shut down his live stream channel. But while shutting down a live stream is easy, escaping the compensation clause in a management contract is not. Li Jiaming was sued by his agency for a massive sum, burying him in debt. As for Lily, after being discharged from the hospital, her mind completely shattered. Sometimes, she would stay up all night standing in the middle of the living room, singing like a maniac. Other times, she would take a few steps and collapse, muttering absolute nonsense. Every time she regained a shred of lucidity, she would grab Mom's hand. Her eyes would widen, and with a trembling voice, she would say, I will definitely be better than my sister. Everyone said she stole all my luck, which is why I signed a contract with that luck-swapping system. But why? Why is she still fine, while I'm getting more and more miserable? Mom sat by the bed, her eyes red, and finally sighed gently. Lily, those words were just jokes. You two were in my womb from the very beginning. How could your sister steal from you? But my sister refused to believe it. She clutched a knife tightly in her hand, her eyes bloodshot, her voice trembling as if she were crying. It wasn't her who stole from me, everyone said so. If I just kill her, everything will be mine. She raised the knife and lunged at me. I took a step back. My heart was pounding, but I wasn't panicked. Because I knew that when a person's luck is completely drained, they could choke to death just from drinking water, let alone successfully kill someone with a knife. Sure enough, before she could even reach me, Lily tripped. Her body crashed heavily onto the table, the blade flipped in her hand, and it stabbed straight into her own wrist. Blood poured out like a fountain. In the blink of an eye, the entire room was bathed in crimson. Mom screamed. Dad stood frozen. I just quietly knelt beside her, leaned in, and whispered in her ear, Want to know why your luck-swapping system isn't working? She gasped for air, her eyelids fluttering, her voice as weak as her dying breath. Why? I smiled, my tone as gentle as if I were sharing a secret. Because the protective amulet you gave me. I threw it to the beggar a long time ago. He's the one who gave you the 100,000 yuan. Her eyes widened in sheer horror, but she couldn't say another word. She was bleeding so much that even her breath gradually began to fade. Dad held Mom, his eyes heavy but resolute. Lily is no longer normal. Today she dared to take a knife to harm her sister, tomorrow she might harm us both. What if she loses control on the street and stabs a stranger? How would we ever compensate them? I held Mom's hand and said softly, Mom, I know you love her, but only treating her in a hospital can save her. Keeping her at home will only make her illness worse. Dad, afraid Mom would soften, opened his phone and showed her a barrage of news articles about mentally ill people committing violent crimes on the streets. He clenched his fists, his voice choking. They are both my daughters. I love them equally. But right now, putting her in a psychiatric hospital is the only way to keep her alive. As soon as Lily was admitted to the psychiatric hospital, she was so weak she had to use a wheelchair. Even the doctors couldn't understand why a 19-year-old girl looked so aged and exhausted, as if she had lived half a lifetime. Lily looked up, her cloudy eyes still flashing with hatred. You're biased toward Xinshin, that's why you want to abandon me, right? It's fine. I have the luck-swapping system. When my luck returns, I'll take everything back. You'll regret it then. The psychiatrist just looked at her, shook his head, and sighed, his voice heavy like a judgment. This girl's illness is very severe. The sunlight from the window shone on Lily's pale, distorted, and desperate face. I quietly closed the hospital room door. Once Lily was out of sight, Mom collapsed to the floor, crying until she fainted. From the day Lily was sent to the psychiatric hospital, the former Beggar, the man who was once hailed as an internet sensation, also began a freefall. The exposure: first, he was exposed as a bloodsucker, exploiting my sister's pain for engagement and selling tragedy for views. The lies: then, he was exposed for his terrible acting. Once he got famous, he immediately started using stand-ins for his roles. The scandal: finally, netizens dug up his shady dealings with multiple people in nightclubs, pushing his name to the top of the hot search trends. Film crews cancelled his contracts en masse. The higher they had praised him back then, the harder he fell now. He used to be a penniless beggar. Now, he was a washed-up star burdened with astronomical breach of contract fees. I frowned slightly. Could this be the true price of the luck-swapping system? When one person's luck is exhausted, the other person is sucked dry as well, releasing the stolen luck back into the void? If so, isn't the system itself the only real winner? Just as I thought that, a cold, mechanical voice echoed in my ears. Congratulations, host. The host has comprehended the secret of the luck-swapping system. Would you like to become our partner? Partner with that system? No. I didn't even need to think about it. My instinct forced me to refuse instantly. The mechanical voice rang out again, carrying a hint of regret. A smart person like you should have partnered with us. That way, you would have infinite luck and could change your destiny. I smiled faintly, a sarcastic curve on my lips. I believe in the law of conservation of energy. I also believe that whoever dares to trade with the devil out of greed will ultimately only destroy themselves. Looking at the beggar's downfall, I finally understood my sister's fate in our previous life. After I died, she too must have been forced to return all the stolen luck back to the system. The next day, I went to the hospital to visit my sister. Now, she was so weak she looked no different from an 80-year-old woman. Seeing me walk in, she managed a twisted smile. "Sister, you're here? I didn't expect that you had been reborn too." The nurse beside her, afraid I wouldn't understand, whispered, recently she stopped talking about the luck-swapping system and started believing she was reborn. She also claimed that in her previous life, she was the ultimate winner. After making sure Lily had no strength left to resist, the nurse left, leaving just the two of us in the room. Lily chuckled softly, a tired smile shattered like glass. In my past life, I thought that as long as you died, everything would end. I thought I would get to live the life that belonged to me. But I didn't expect that my life was no longer in my own hands. Her voice trembled, her eyes vacant as if looking right through the air. I tried so hard, but I still couldn't fight the arrangements of the luck-swapping system. My husband cheated on me and beat me, my company went bankrupt, and even my child said I wasn't a good mother. In the end, I died after being hit by a car in the middle of the road. Lily took a deep breath and weakly continued. I thought I was reborn and could start over. But when I opened my eyes, I was already in this psychiatric hospital. No matter what I said, they just called me crazy. No one believed me. I looked at her, my heart entirely devoid of waves. Actually, I said slowly, you were wrong from the very beginning. Everything you suffered was just the price you had to pay for your own stubbornness. No matter how many times you come back to life, you would still choose the exact same path. Instead of blaming heaven and everyone else, you should have changed yourself. What you steal will never truly belong to you. After saying that, I laughed self-deprecatingly. Talking to someone like her was like playing a lute to a cow. She listened, but she would never understand. I knew Lily didn't have much time left to live. The doctor had told me straight out, making a deal with the luck-swapping system always costs your own life force. The system might swear it's harmless, but with demons, every contract is written in blood, and that blood is always human. When I stepped out of the hospital, I felt as if a 1,000-pound weight had been lifted off my shoulders. Under the early autumn sunlight, I happened to run into Li Jiaming at the entrance of my apartment complex. He was being hounded by loan sharks, his face pale and completely desperate. I just glanced at him. My heart didn't flutter, my hands didn't turn cold. Because I knew that everything that once bound me to that nightmare had absolutely nothing to do with me anymore. From today on, every passing day is a brand new day. And I can finally start writing my own life. The end.